Welcome to the Finest Hour podcast, where we celebrate the moments that define success. I'm Ilona Pitt, your Finest Hour host, and my guest today is Phil Stanley, the director at TWP Group. Phil, welcome.
Morning all, thank you. My name is Phil Stanley.
Yeah, so Phil, you are a well-respected, prominent figure in manufacturing community. We've known each other for over a decade.
About 15, 16 years, I think, yeah. Even from the early days of the Business Post, I believe.
Yes, exactly. Business reports at the time,
Business reports, yeah.
Today we're going to talk about your journey, entrepreneurship journey, the ups and downs of entrepreneurship, and how you overcame some of the challenges along the way. So I understand your passion for engineering started at a very young age, you know, you was always interested in manufacturing from early days.
I think our days were different, weren't they? Because in my younger years, you know, we played with Lego, we played with Meccano, and we played with all those sort of things. So they sort of like tended to inspire you in that way, you know, whereas today I think laptops and iPads don't quite bring the same level. So I always wanted to be an engineer of some form, and I never quite knew what. So I went on to college after school. And did my HNC, did my ONC, did at the time, which was quite advanced, CNC programming, when CNC machines were just starting to come in, and that sort of like set me up. And then I said, well, what do I want to do? And I thought, well, I want to do the most skilledest job I can do, you know. And so in the end, I decided I wanted to be a toolmaker. So I got an apprenticeship through the YTS scheme as a toolmaker.
Yeah.
It went on from there, really, to be honest. And I've never looked back, because I think that conditioning and that understanding of how mechanical and engineering works is very true to what you are, because you can't get anything wrong. You know, when you work into 6, 7 decimal places, you know, you understand what engineering is. And that set me up in good stead, to be honest.
And then in 96, you started TWP Group. At the time, it was pressings with 2 other guys, and it was mainly automotive at the time, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. I mean, I was living in a thatched cottage in the middle of the country in Kent, you know, and then I met my wife, who was doing a nursing degree, and I decided to move to the Midlands, and that gave me an opportunity then to diverse and do things. So we moved to the Midlands. I worked for a manufacturing company called Ross Courtney, and then the opportunity came around to start our own business. We got a contract, and so we looked at that, and I was on a fairly good wage at the time, and it was a case of jumping off the cliff and saying, right, what am I going to do? Who am I going to be? And stand on my own and live by my own sword. So we started Three-Way in 96, and we had one machine in one corner. And we were sort of like working 20, 30 hours a day. I even nearly missed my wedding due to the fact that I was working sort of like 24/7.
Oh, God.
And it got to that point, really. But of course, in those days, you had to do those things to get going. And
you didn't let your wife waiting for you at the altar?
Well, I went to work on a Wednesday, and I travelled down to Kent on a Friday, straight from work without any sleep. And then I got married on the Saturday.
Okay.
And then consequently went back to work on the Sunday, and my wife picked me up to go on honeymoon on the Wednesday. So all the way to Bangkok, I slept most of the way. But that's what we did in manufacturing at the time, you know, and we had to do that. And I think that put us in good stead, you know, because like most business owners, when it's your own business, you've got to do those hard yards, you know, and they always say first, second, third year, and then it starts to come right. And it did do that, yeah. Yeah,
and then obviously when you started, it was 100% automotive work, and you had pretty good run, right?
Yeah, I mean,
for many years.
Yeah, we were making parts for the Vauxhall Vectra at the time, and we were doing something like about 12 million parts on one job.
Yeah.
And it was massive time constraints, massive penalty clauses if you missed a schedule or a delivery. And it was high pressure stuff, you know, and automotive still is high pressure stuff. And to be honest, most customers are, because they want everything delivered just on time now. And, you know, so we started with one machine, and bit by bit we bought another machine into another machine. And, you know, once people understand who you are and you're established, you start to build and grow in those ways. Yeah. So at the time we were sort of almost 100% automotive, and then we got it down to about 74%. And it's grown year on year, to be honest.
Yes, and when we had a chat beforehand, it was like it's hard to think of your finest hour moment, but there is this moment where that's changed a lot. And for you, I think from our conversations was the 2008 recession and what's happened. Tell me about that moment, because you told me about that August 2008, was it right?
2008 was an interesting year, I think, because it's
Yeah.
the first time I've ever experienced a recession as such as a manufacturer. And of course, you hear about the past and everything else. And
Yeah.
you know, we were October in 2008, chugging along, having everything great, full order book, and then all of a sudden, within that month, it went bang.
Yeah.
It virtually went down to about 30%, and
Yeah.
everybody just pulled in and stopped. And the world sort of stopped at that time, you know, and nobody knew where we were going. And I think that was probably my biggest finest hour, because that then made me look at it and say, okay, then we've been going for so many years, but I need to change things. I need to change my reliability, and I need to change my products. You know, we were making millions of parts and putting them in boxes, and they were being shipped off to
Never
other
seen
people,
them again.
and we never knew where those parts
Yeah.
went. So that then made me look at the way we were as a company, where we could structure things and change things. And I then decided I wanted the pounds instead of the pennies.
Yes.
And opportunities then came along, you know, and Beldray went bust, unfortunately, at the time. So I went along and looked at the wheelbarrows, and I didn't get the wheelbarrows from them, but I saw it about a week later in a warehouse. So I sort of paid the money, took it, saying, well, I'll take a gamble on that, and that'll get me going. And we now manufacture over 60 different wheelbarrows. It turns over £750,000.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest smile on my face when you talk about finest hours is 5 miles one way, I've got Walsall wheelbarrows, 5 miles the other way, I've got Chillingtons, who are making thousands of wheelbarrows every day. And I'm in the middle there just disrupting it, you know.
Yes, yeah.
And I suppose that gives me a smile, as you can see on my face, because, you know, I give people the option then to pick and mix. So what I did then is I dealt with a lot of companies who are one-to-one, small garden centres. I gave them a choice. So instead of having to buy a whole host of everything, they could have a little bit of everything as a pick and mix, and give them that option.
Yeah, I think that's probably quite an amazing return on investment, because when you said you went to that yard, you purchased it for like £20,000.
£20,000, took a
Yeah,
gamble,
at the
but then
time.
I looked at the machines, I looked at the tooling, and said,
Yeah.
well, at worst, if I sold the stock I got, I'd get my money back, and that's what we did, yeah. So that then brings you into something else, doesn't it? Because all of a sudden you're tube bending, you're welding, and then you can then go and target your customers for other work and other processes. And it's amazing how sometimes one small thing can lead you into many, many other avenues, and that was the beauty about that.
So would you say it was more of like a chance, or was there a plan, or how did you identify these opportunities that are out there? Like,
I think it was a wake-up call.
right.
Yeah, and the wake-up call was very, very stark, you know, because a lot of people were relying on Jaguar, a lot of people were relying on Toyota and Mini and partly Rover at the time as well. And that wake-up call was, right, we've got to change our business. We need security within this business.
Yeah.
You know, so if one side's down, the other sides can hold up and keep going.
Yeah.
And that's really what we did. So that was the very first start of that. And then another business that I found out through my accountants, Spirobase. They were buying a lot of products from China, and it was a family-run thing. And it's as a manufacturer, you could see it was completely wrong in the way it was going and how they were doing things, and you know, bringing stuff in and then selling it on. So I then looked at it and said, right, okay, then we'll make it here, and then what we'll do then is distribute it and sell it as well. So not only did I get the manufacturing side of it, where I made my percentage, I also got the distribution side as well. So all of a sudden, I'm earning my so-called percentage there, my percentage here, but I'm then dealing with people direct as well. So that then brought us into a different avenue as well, which is a much better thing, yeah.
And at the time, what motivated you to push ahead? I mean, is it just a survival mode, or what is it? Legacy? Like, why did you want that?
I think the biggest thing with people who own their businesses is the fear of failure.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm very motivated, as you know, and I'll take on any challenge and try and beat it in that sense. And that's just my character, you know. So there was never really any one person there who gave me that inspiring moment or time. But it was really my drive, really, which drove me to that level. And I had to change the business. I had to change what we did. It also brought us into many different avenues as well.
So it's just the attitude that, you know, something needs to change, and then these opportunities present themselves. Because like you had nothing to do with wheelbarrows or other stuff.
Yeah,
It was completely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't even own a wheelbarrow.
I do, thanks to you, and I use it
you know.
every spring. So it's an amazing, and you have any color you want as well, from pink to red to.
It was really trying to be different, you know, because
Yeah.
everyone else was just offering you a black, green, or a silver galvanized barrow, and I sort of said, well, hang on, I'm going to do a pink, green, blue, lilac, yellow, and orange one, you know.
Yeah.
And that then allowed everybody, and then all of a sudden you got people saying, hang on a bit, he can't do that. well, hang on, who wrote the rule
Who
book?
said about the real bar?
Yeah, the rule book's my rule book when I'm in control, and it was really to that extent, to be honest. So that's what we did, yeah.
So, yeah, I know, because it's the way you are as well. You're optimistic guy.
Optimistic, driven, determined,
yes,
yeah.
So,
But I mean, there's just still on wheelbarrows, a wheelbarrow's, you don't realise, bending a 4 metre tube in 25 seconds, with 13 bends, there's still a lot of manufacturing and technology in that, the injection moulding side, the bending side, the welding, fabrication, and getting it right first time every time, because the last thing you want is all your wheelbarrows in a line and seeing one sitting that way, one sitting that way, and one being wonky and the wheel hitting there and doing that. And there's actually a lot of technology, the height of the wheel to the curve of the road. So I never thought it would be so intriguing, I think is the word, but it really was. And it brought us into many, many areas. And we went to the shows, and like everything, everyone's got an idea to improve a wheelbarrow. Well, the Chinese did it many, many moons ago. Yeah. And it hasn't really changed fundamentally, has it?
Thanks to you, we have really amazing lighting in our studio. So thank you very much for the Patterson lighting for the podcast, because that's another brand that you obviously have in your portfolio now. Again, because of your finest hour moment, you went out there and you just found multiple products now that you produce in your factory. So it's wheelbarrows, it's the photographic equipment, it's Spiro-based. Have I missed, what else is there?
No, I mean, Patterson's photographic was an interesting one, because again, it was, had I not done the first bit and got the second bit, I wouldn't have done the third bit, because you seize the opportunity, and I don't really know anything about photography, if I'm blunt and honest, but at the end of the day, what I do know is manufacturing. And when the Billing Group went bust, we were doing some work for them in the injection moulding side, and I just looked at it in a very structured manufacturing sort of way, saying, well, hang on a bit, they're moulding that, they're assembling that, they're selling that, and they're selling that as a point of sale product. And so we then took that on, and so we got all the darkroom equipment done, and then it's
a great brand as well. It's well known, isn't it?
It's been around for about 75 years, and it's the only brand in the world that manufactures the equipment to then process film in the darkroom. And from that, now we export all over the world. America, Australia, China, India, Japan, Europe. And everything goes straight out from our factory as a point of sale. And it's quite funny, really, because wherever you go on holiday and you go to a photographic shop, you'll always see one of our brands in there somewhere. Because the interest in people developing film still has come back in. And about 7-8 years ago, when we used to go to the photographic show at the NEC, people used to sit there and laugh at us. And we'd have the likes of Sony, Canon, and all the big boys there. And now they're saying, for God's sake, Phil, don't stop, because everybody's gone back to developing film. Because it become an art and it becomes a one-off. You can do a run of 20, and we could both develop a film.
Retro, isn't it cool?
Exactly that, and it becomes a one-off piece, doesn't it?
Exactly.
And you and I can develop a film here or a picture here, and we'll both get different results because of the time and the process that you do in it. And so that became a very good, interesting product. And to be honest, it's grown from strength to strength. And then in that as well, we also then had the Bembo brand. And we make over 16 different tripods as well.
Yes.
So we're the only people, I believe, in the UK who manufacture a tripod. And we make 60 different tripods for the outdoor use. And they're probably the strongest tripods on the market. And it's just grown, to be honest. And then we used to import a lot of lighting in from the Far East. And
yes, you developed your own bulb by working in with
I said,
University.
no, that's right. I said, no, I'm not doing that. I'm going to design my own lights and studio lights. So as you see here in the studio here, I designed the lights, and we got them up and running. We used to do the big filament bulbs, and I was changing a light in my kitchen one day, and this, the lights have got so good now with the LEDs, and the technology's moved on so far. And this was a pure white daylight, and I'm saying, well, hang on a bit. If somebody's making this, I can surely put it into a light that can go into our photographic lights and be a lot stronger and robust. And that's what we did. So from there, we worked hand in hand with Warwick University. We did some SL models. We did some prototypes.
Yeah, that's what I love about you, Phil, because you just get on and do it.
Yeah.
But you had that period when you just was heavily reliant on automotive, and I think a lot of companies still are. So looking back at your experience, what you went through, especially during recession, is there any advice you would give to business owners, companies that might be heavily reliant on one industry, one product? that may be a part, or what's your message?
My message there is to diversify.
It's easier said than done. Though,
It is. But you know, we were manufacturers of small parts, and we were just set in our own little bubble, and all we did was manufacture. You know, and it's actually breaking that bubble and saying, well, actually, no, I'm not just going to manufacture that, but I'm also going to add that in, and it actually makes life more exciting because you get out, you meet different people from different industries, and I think, you know, some of the biggest calls is when we used to do the breakfast mornings and go and meet other companies, and that was always fascinating for me because it's very rare that we used to get the opportunity to walk into somebody's company just to go and have a nose, you know, and it's fascinating to go and see how other people are making things, doing things, because we always think we're doing the things right, and it's just nice to go and see how other people are doing things and how you can then take a bit of that away, you know, and bring that into your own context. And so yeah, it's been a big insight, you know, and you know, at some point we're going to have a recession again with the automotive sector. You know, we've had problems with getting chips for cars, and you know, I think most automotive companies have been about 20-30% down on volume. You know, we've had the lowest year in production of vehicles this year or last year than we did from 1970. So you know, our reliance in other countries has become so grand that we need to change that and bring that back to the UK, and I think that's happening
so you
now.
just need to put a little bit of urgency into that, like if you're in that situation to...
I think we just need to open our eyes and look at what's in front of us, and become less blinkered, you know, and if an opportunity comes along, say, well, okay, it's not quite my brand, but equally I can do that, and it's the same.
So you don't have to be like, you was not an expert in photographic equipment or wheelbarrows and... You just, because you also have tools and you've expanded, so it's just about being open to opportunities, right?
It's being good at what you do, and we manufacture. You know, I still don't know how to develop any film, you know, and yet I've just built a darkroom in our factory so we can do that, you know, and because we are good at what we do, and that's what we do, we manufacture things, and you know, we've got experts who help us and support us. You always need that, but equally, you know, it's what we are. It's what you are as a core. You know, inside me, I'm manufacturing. That's what I want to do. I want to make things. I want to build things and design things, and that's a real true thing. So that's a defining moment for me. You know, and I encourage. You know, we used to walk around and see bins of stuff going up to the ceiling full of people's car, but it was all the same part, you know, and people would get a 6-month schedule of the same stuff to be made all the time, saying, yeah, I'm really busy, but actually
gone.
If someone turns that key off, that light off, then all of a sudden you're not busy, and it stops very, very quickly. And I think that was the biggest lesson I learned in 2008. Someone else was in control of my light and they turned it off,
and you don't want it to be that way.
And I didn't want that light. I don't want that light to go off. It can dim a bit, but it can't go off.
Fantastic. So great story. And finally, maybe you could tell me about your inspiration, because, you know, we all sort of take inspiration from somewhere. Who and what it is for you?
Yeah, I had to think about that. And I think really from me coming from childhood to sort of like a young adult, and really there's a turning point there, isn't there? You know, Clive Sinclair, there's Alan Sugar, and then there's Steve Jobs. You know, I mean, we're all going down.
Figures,
you've got 3 inspirational people there who did more than what we can actually ever imagine. You know, we're all now driving virtually electric cars, and we're being forced into that motion. You know, this guy did it sort of 30-odd something years ago. You know, and everyone laughed at him and said, you know, it's a real radical idea. You're too far in front. You know, and you know, look at us now with iPads and computers and technology. You know, we can't live without it now. You know, we can't. As soon as we wake up, we're there, aren't we? Right?
The world is so different. I
just changed.
Sometimes sit down and think, what was it like when I never had access to a phone? Like, it's strange.
But also, industry's gone completely the other way, though, hasn't it? You know, because industry is more tech savvy now than it ever has been. You know, and I think now without technology and industry in that way, we couldn't achieve where we are now. You know, we wouldn't be able to achieve as much. Yeah, we achieved a hell of a lot in the early years of you know, manufacturing, but I think Industry 4 now is just bringing us to another level. And you know, I went to Outer World the other day, and I was in a 3D world, you know, and I was like Lara Croft, you know, and these zombies. And it was frightening, you know, and these zombies were coming at me from left and right, and I was like Lara Croft there, bang, 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 bang. And it's the first time I've ever played.
Did you see your body and everything?
Well, we wouldn't go that far, but you know, and it was just incredible, you know. And I came out there sweating because these zombies were coming to get me, you know. And so technology has got so much more to come, and I'm just so excited as to where it's going to be next.
Yes,
because
it is.
I think
It's changing very, very quickly now.
we've just got on step one of the ladder now in terms of this virtual world, and I think it's going to just take off from here, and we'll be able to improve it so much.
All right. So in terms of your inspiration, it's all the big figures in the industry, people who just go out there and just make it happen.
Yeah, I mean,
much.
exactly that. My daughter sits there doing that, and I'm still doing that. But I love going up there and looking at the technology. Technology is still a big demand, regardless to age.
Yes. Phil, thank you very much for sharing your incredible journey with me
Thank
today,
you.
and your passion for engineering and determination to overcome stuff is truly inspiring. You're the make it happen guy in my eyes, and it's been amazing to see this journey. And thank you very much for donating these amazing lights, which is done just across the road from us. So we like to keep it real. So thank you for that.
Brilliant.
Thank you for being the manufacturing legend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Definitely.
Brilliant.
So thank you for watching this episode of The Finest Hour, where we celebrate the moments that define success. And don't forget to subscribe, like and share, and to help us reach more people who are looking to reach their own finest hour. Thank you very much. I'll see you soon.